Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk about Mr. Fantastic and the Fantastic Four mainline epic quest that we just got in the new update. And I want to give you guys sort of an epic quest guide, give you all of my advice and tips for how you can finish the epic quest as soon as possible so that you can get your hands on Mr. Fantastic Tier 2 level 60 as soon as possible, because completing the epic quest will rank up this character for you, and then you'll just have to finish off his gears and give him an ISO 8 set and give him an obelisk and give him Uru, and then possibly tier 3 him. There's still a lot to do, but I wanted to discuss the epic quest for you, then discuss some of the character build decisions that I went with for Mr. Fantastic, and then give you some gameplay, because the word is still out, the word is not finalized on the community's opinion of where Mr. Fantastic ranks among native tier 2s, among epic quest heroes, or among native tier 2 tier 3s like Deadpool. So for starters, how are you going to get Mr. Fantastic? Well, you're going to start off with a 1-star Mr. Fantastic when you begin the first family epic quest, and then you're going to go on a journey of a ton of different quests with different kind of requirements in order to get him. Some of those requirements are to do missions, some of those requirements are to get characters ranked up, some of those requirements are to spam missions randomly, and others are just paying with resources that you have saved up. So I wanted to discuss two different things that you need to know for sure for this epic quest. The first one are the costs. The second one are specific roadblocks and how you can either prepare for them or just plan for them and know that they're there. Before we begin, I do want to say as a general tip, whenever there is a new update, you should probably not do your daily tasks, any of them, before the update lands. Now, for some of you, that's impossible because of where you live and the time of the day or night that the update lands. You have a job, you have a school, you have life, whatever, I understand. But if you can save everything, do so, because if we ever get another epic quest, or if we ever get a heroic quest, being able to do your daily tasks, whether it's missions or world boss or co-op, are usually a part of these quests. And so I know a few people reached out to me after the update landed and they said, oh man, I'm gonna start a day behind on the epic quest because I already did my full tasks. I full cleared the game before the update. So just keep that in mind. Secondly, I do want to give a huge thank you and shout out to iMuffles and Extro Reddit. I've used their guides before to illustrate for you guys. They do a wonderful job of putting everything into beautiful text form in an easy to read kind of style, and I have a link below in the description to it. So if you aren't a visual learner, or if you're not kind of a video learner with my voice and you prefer to just read things quietly, definitely hit up the link and you can stop watching this video. And thank you to them for data mining the information and compiling it. So what I want to focus on is right here, the epic quest requirements. So the first ones that you're going to notice are the 5 different characters that you need to get to 5 stars. And these are the same characters that you need to get to tier 2 for Dr. Doom, minus Mr. Fantastic, minus Victorious, or sorry, not Victorious, minus Invisible Woman, Sue Storm. So you have to get all of these characters to 5 stars. Human Torch and Thing are very easy to get to 5 stars, and I've made a video for Human Torch, which is the same for Thing. You just use bio selectors, you use the event selectors, or you can use the in epic quest missions that you will unlock called Like Brothers, where you can farm 10 or 20 bios of them per day. As far as Crystal and She-Hulk, they also have their own stages, and just a pro tip, both of these stages give a vast amount of gold. They give about 30,000 gold each, so definitely, even after you finish the epic quest, don't skip these missions because the gold is fantastic. You can also farm both of these characters in different places, so of course, Crystal can be farmed with bio selectors, but she's also available from the Inhumans special mission. In the case of She-Hulk, you can get her from the token shop. I believe it's the honor tokens that you can trade in 2,000 or 5,000 tokens for 30 bios. Not a lot of tokens, of course, not a lot of bios for the number of tokens, but you can use rank up tickets to fix that, or if you get specific tier 2 selectors, the A-Force, including She-Hulk, will be on that list. As far as Victorious goes, we've made a video about that, so you can refer to that for getting her to 5 stars. But that is kind of one of the major roadblocks. So the sooner you can get those characters ranked up, the better. Additionally, as far as the other resources go, this is the most expensive epic quest. So in case you were wondering, or in case that is going to impact your decision on when you start this epic quest, Yes, it has the most requirements for black antimatter, and it has the most requirements for phoenix feathers and Emcron crystals. So that is kind of a bummer to know that you need so much of them for the Fantastic Four. I'm not sure why they decided to do that, but yeah, for those whales out there like me who are wondering why they lost so much black antimatter, it wasn't Doctor Doom, it was all of this. Holy shit, 8, 5, 3, and 3. This is far and away the most expensive one. It's not even close to any of the other epic quests. So that is another thing to take into consideration. You're going to need a lot of black antimatter. You can get some of that from Shadowland first clears, sure, but you're also going to need Emcron crystals, Phoenix feathers, and Emcron shards. So a lot of people are immediately going to say, well, Cynicalex, I can get those from another epic quest, so shouldn't I start X-Force or Rise of the X-Men? Well, it depends on where you are as a player. If you're a brand new player and you really like the Fantastic Four, you can actually start with the Fantastic Four, because eventually, sooner rather than later, you're going to want to unlock these epic quests, or sorry, these world bosses in order to get these characters. Maybe not Apocalypse, but these three are definitely amazing characters in their own, and even better with their uniforms. And these three missions are going to give you Phoenix Feathers and Emcron Crystals and Shards, and as a newer player, you're not going to have anything else to spend them on, so that is a really good way of looking at it if that is the type of player that you are. Now, if you are already using Phoenix Feathers and Emcron Crystals and Shards and you don't have enough of them to go around, then you may want to consider putting aside or kind of slowing down on this epic quest for the Fantastic Four and finishing these two, or at least getting far enough so that you can farm the Feather and Crystal missions so that you have enough X-Men materials, you have enough mutant resources in order to get through this epic quest, since it requires the most. So that is the other big thing to take into consideration. I'm not going to go step by step with every single epic quest and kind of every single mission. If you want a step-by-step guide, it's in here if you just scroll down a little bit. The other thing that I wanted to discuss are specific roadblocks and how you can kind of plan for them. So you can't necessarily avoid some of these roadblocks. Sometimes the game will just automatically force you to take a break from the epic quest by setting up a situation in which you have to do something like clear Villain Siege twice and then clear Villain Siege twice again just a few missions later. So in that case, you won't be able to do so because you can't refresh Villain Siege at all. So it's just impossible to do. You have to just wait for the next day in order for it to refresh naturally. Additionally, there are going to be roadblocks around Timeline Battle. There's one that I just skipped through recently where it says you need to get 5 participations, which is a win or a loss, and then a few kind of missions later, it's going to ask you to get 10 timeline wins. So in that case, you're going to have to be stopped unless you spend crystals to refresh your timeline battle. My suggestion to you is, unless you're rushing and you have money and you have a lot of crystals to spend, don't do that. It's really fun to enjoy the epic quests kind of step by step and in a kind of slow burn way. And if I wasn't on YouTube, if I wasn't really a hardcore player, I probably would take my time as well. And I'm kind of glad that some of you out there are doing that. Additionally, there is going to be a quest near the end that asks you to do 15 special mission clears, and before that, before it asks you to do 10 special mission clears. So again, this is going to be kind of a natural roadblock, very similar to the roadblocks that we have in Heroic Quest, where it will ask you to do Alliance Battle, and it will ask you to do Alliance Battle again a few missions before. There's basically no way to do it twice unless you're on a reset day at the end of the week on Thursday. So you can also consider the Thursday time zone so that you can get, 20 timeline battles in. You can get 20, well, you can't get more than 20 special missions, but you can do double Shadowland and double Timeline and double Extreme Alliance Battle and normal Alliance Battle. So those are the tips that I have for you for getting the characters, for getting the resources, and for dealing with the roadblocks, or kind of planning accordingly to the roadblocks when you are dealing with the epic quest. My only other advice for the epic quest in relation to the heroic quest is I would probably prioritize the epic quest. However, with the heroic quest, if you don't finish it within the time frame, like if I don't finish these last 11 missions in 3 days, I will just lose all of the other resources that I don't collect here on the right side. So you actually have more to lose by skipping or not prioritizing the heroic quest. But you can always stop the heroic quest after week 1, 2, 3, or I guess 4. So that is also something to take into consideration. But there is a penalty for missing heroic quests. There isn't really a penalty for just leaving the epic quest, other than not having the epic quest characters unlocked and ranked up. Speaking of epic quest characters, how is Mr. Fantastic? So my initial impression of him and my kind of repetitive impression of him through playing is mixed. I think he has some pretty cool skills and his animations are amazing. And he definitely has potential. His 5th skill has a long iframe with penetration and immunity. His 4th skill, long iframe with a self buff. His 3rd skill has a cool guard hit, and it's kind of like Gambit's 3rd skill where you can just run away. So it's got kind of a defensive movement ability. And he's got stuns on all of his skills. And he seems to be possibly a future counter for some of these heavy physical characters in PvP like Deadpool. I'm not saying he is a Deadpool counter. I'm saying he could be with elastic skin and shock absorption if those numbers go up and if he gets more HP and things like that. But on the flip side, he has a couple of weak skills in 1 and 2, and overall his stats are not that impressive given the fact that he's a native tier 2 character. Now, from what I've seen from tier 3 Mr. Fantastics, and there's only a few of them, the same is true. His stat boost is not nearly as high or nearly as impressive as either Captain America, the kind of #1 combat character, or Black Panther, who is the other combat tier 3 who has an insane stat boost when you get him to tier 3. You can see the base stats there. And so because of that, especially since he's a native tier 2, it's kind of puzzling. We expected something more in line with how massively amazing Deadpool becomes, and Deadpool has the disadvantage, unlike Mr. Fantastic, of being a speed type. Speed types have lower base stats, so even though he has lower stats in a lot of ways than Mr. Fantastic, Deadpool performs very well at tier 2, and then at tier 3 we know he's an absolute monster. Part of that has to do with his iframes, part of that has to do with how much damage his skills do. He just hits super hard, especially with 4, but also with 5. And then also the healing, and then also the all defense down. Reed doesn't have any of that. He doesn't have the healing. He doesn't have nearly as many hits. He kind of feels like Wolverine. I think that would be the best way to describe him. He feels more like an upgraded Wolverine rather than someone to stand shoulder to shoulder with Deadpool. So that is a little bit disappointing, I must say. He doesn't have a uniform yet, but neither does Deadpool. So we're going to have to watch this closely and see just how important it is to rush through. And it might turn out that his wife is the best character from this epic quest. As far as his gears go, I went ahead with physical attack, HP, and mostly crit rate because I want to go offensive. But I think double HP with double physical attack is very nice for PvP. As I mentioned, he has some proficiency there, it seems. For his skill rank ups, I would only go with the last 3 because of the effects, the different stats. They all go up in value when you level up those skills. The ISO 8 set should be Power of Angry Hulk, but I couldn't roll that, and I rolled Overdrive, so I stayed with it. So just a warning to you guys, Power of Angry Hulk is absolutely better. He doesn't get enough attack speed from Giant Palm. It's only 5%, and he definitely could use attack speed. Additionally, he gets one more Chaotic ISO, which can give him HP, so he would have more HP, which improves his survivability. As far as his custom gear goes, he does not have super armor or guard break immunity, so a CTP of destruction or a guard break immunity obelisk, like let's say this one with dodge and proc, is ideal for him if you don't like getting guard broken and you can't really play well enough to kind of dodge everything and carefully enough with the timing. But I think he can get away with the CTP of energy or a more offensive like crit damage, crit rate, damage proc if you can use 3, 4, and 5 very kind of carefully and closely. Additionally, for PvP, it's kind of up in the air. He definitely would do really well with a heal, but a CTP of refinement is just not an option because he gets guard broken and he'll get shut down on 1, 2, and 3 if he ever uses them. And I don't have a CTP of refinement here to show you guys, but you know what it is. It's the HP, recovery rate, heal, guard hit, obelisk. So perhaps for PvP, guard break immunity, max HP, invincibility would be the best. But now let's test him out and show you guys just what my Mr. Fantastic can actually do. For this World Boss Ultimate stage, which is Proxima 35, I went ahead and used, wow, no damage proc on those hits. Amazing. I went ahead and used the thing for the super armor buff and the 40% attack, stacking with Reed's 65%, so he's got a 105% attack bonus, in addition to Coulson's increased damage against supervillains, and his guaranteed crit rate, because Reed doesn't have any guaranteed crit rate. That's another thing that's a little bit difficult about building Reed's kit, is he doesn't have any crit rate or crit damage. He has a small buff attack speed with all attack and all defense, but because he doesn't have any of those kinds of buffs, he has ignored defense 40% on his 5th skill. It does make him a little bit harder to max out those important stats. But additionally, you can see that he doesn't do as much damage as you may have hoped, because he doesn't actually have that many hits outside of his 5th skill. His 5th skill has quite a few hits, but after that, it's a little bit low. But he is quite good. He is pretty good defensively for a level 60 character against a stage 35 plus world boss. I didn't want to use him against Corvus because he takes a damage reduction, even though he has that 40% dodge, ignore dodge, which does make him able to use 2 fewer ignore dodge strikers. Additionally, if I see those purple circles, well, I'm not going to do that, but if I see those purple circles, I can dodge them and I can run away with the 3rd skill. For his actual rotation, once I actually get into the proper rotation, I promise you this is not the proper rotation. I want to proc the obelisk with his 5th skill. We got it kind of there. I want to spam 1 and then 3 right after, because the immunity from his 5th skill lingers, and then it has about 2.5 seconds left, and then finish off with the 4th skill for the iframe, so he doesn't get hit in between. So that would be 5-3-1 or 5-1-3, and then finish with the 4th skill. Not really sure where my proc is. There it is. And then we squeeze in 1 and 3 really fast. I would probably do 1 first and 3 later, because you don't know if you're going to be in trouble after 1, if the boss is going to do something kind of spooky like that with the purple circles, and you then can use 3 to run away. If you waste 3 early, although 3's damage is actually not that bad, it'll put you in a more tricky situation. But because Reed only has 2 iframes, and because neither of his iframes are honestly that long, they're medium length, but they're not as long as, let's say, someone like Deadpool's iframes. And because he doesn't have as much tankiness with the immunity as Captain America, either immunity from the uniform or the regular immunity on his 1st skill, you do have to play him a little bit more defensively and a little bit more cautiously, kind of like Gambit. Not exactly like Gambit, but I mean, he can definitely take hits, so you can make mistakes, but if you make too many, you are going to die for sure, because he doesn't have all those iframes to hide his HP bar, basically. But you can see he can actually get this done. It's not a super fast clear, which does kind of worry me for the future. I did goof up the damage there. I did goof up the rotation. But hopefully, maybe not hopefully, but when he gets a uniform, I know it's super early to say that, but hopefully it'll kind of shore up some of these issues. His 2nd skill's pretty bad, I must say. I haven't said anything about it, but you absolutely do not want to use his 2nd skill unless you're doing something like Shadowland, because it's long, it's a long animation, and it just puts him in a really bad position to just get one-shotted or two-shotted, especially against someone like Proxima, because it's a directional attack, so he just stays in front of her. That's like, you're really just asking for trouble at that point. I'm a little bit behind on my proc right now, so I want to try and dodge some of this stuff to get that 5th skill off. It's not bad. It's a little bit less than half a bar, but he can face tank decently, at least at this stage. I don't know if he's going to be the Captain America replacement that we thought of. I mean, stage 35 running out of time is something to consider for his damage overall, especially the fact that he has 105%. You heard that right. 105% all attack buff. Not many characters get that much of a buff, have a CTP of energy, have 4 and 5-star Uru, and still take, 4.5 minutes to clear a world boss at stage 35. We're going to finish it here before the 2nd wave comes, but that is Mr. Fantastic. Is he Mr. Fantastic? Is he fantastic? I'm not 100% sure, but I did get the research or the searching potential for Ben, so that's pretty cool. Hit 300 raid level, that's also awesome, and I'm kind of proud of myself. So let me know what you guys think of the epic quest. Let me know what you think of Reed and of his tier 2. Should I tier 3 him? Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.